Welcome back, Endgame community. I'm Pierre, he's Chris, and we're here to talk about some running backs that we think you absolutely must start. And don't forget to stay tuned because we have another giveaway. But first, let's get into the running backs. Chris, who do you like in Week 8?
I like your guy, Damian Harris. I can't believe you didn't pick him this week. I was actually shocked. I mean, going up against the Chargers, one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. They're a run funnel defense, meaning teams just attack them on the ground, have tons of success on the ground. That's going to be the case for the Patriots this week. Don't think that Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels don't understand that. Look, I know Bolden last week was catching passes even though the Patriots were up big, which, was a little frustrating. Damian Harris still had a nice day, but don't get worried about that. Damian Harris still pretty much the workhorse, at least when it comes to running the ball there in New England. He should have tons of success this week against the Chargers. He's got to be in your lineups.
It was too obvious. I can't pick him every week, but yes, definitely love Damian Harris for sure against the Chargers. I also have to love James Robinson. Look, it may seem obvious that he's a guy you're going to start going forward based on the way he's been producing the last couple of weeks. And going against Seattle, well, Seattle, we've talked about throughout the first part of the season how bad their pass defense is. It looks like their run defense is playing catch up. They're also a bottom 5 run defense. So Robinson should have an easy time against Seattle. And there's really no reason to even think about it. When we have these start-sit questions, every Saturday night, we have our start-sit show where you can come and ask us all your questions and we tell you who you should plug into your lineup. The answer for James Robinson will always be yes. You have to put him in, especially this week. All right, we're going to go on with some more running backs. Don't forget, if you appreciate what we're doing here, give us a thumbs up, click that like button. And of course, if you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and do that now. But let's get into more running backs. Chris, who else do you like in Week 8?
Well, I said this guy was a must start last week, and that was Darrell Williams. But look, I don't know what happened to that Chiefs offense last week. Game script completely against them, but he still had 50 yards, still had 3 catches. He was still out there a ton. Game script not going to be an issue this week going against the Giants. I know the Giants just beat down Carolina, but I'm going to chalk that up more to A, an outlier, and B, Sam Darnold becoming Sam Darnold again. Darrell Williams and this Chiefs offense should roll the Giants. At a minimum, the game will at least be close, and Darrell Williams will not get game scripted out. And against the Giants, one of the worst defenses on both sides, run and pass. I have no worries about Darrell Williams. I think we're going to see a huge snap share for Darrell Williams, and we know he will get the goal line work. Don't panic about what happened with Darrell Williams last week. If you picked him up, keep rolling him out. I think he's an every week must start.
Yeah, again, we always say with running backs, you go for the guy who's getting the touches and the usage. That's the easiest way to predict fantasy points. Of course, it helps being in a good offense, and Darrell Williams definitely is, despite what happened last week. Not quite as good an offense, but still, talk about getting all the touches. Who would have thought we would be here midway through the season? Elijah Mitchell, he is the only running back who's getting any touches in San Francisco. Trey Sermon is just a non-factor. JaMycal Hasty came back. He carried the ball 3 times. And that's it. No other running back touched the ball this past week except for Mitchell. 19 carries, over 100 yards. So in 4 games, 2 of them, he's gone over 100 yards. And he's getting all the touches. You just have to like that enough that you put him in your lineup. And it's the Bears. So Mitchell, you have to like his chances. Not guaranteed for 100 yards, but it's looking like he has a really good chance. He is performing pretty well. And he is the guy in San Francisco, at least for now. All right, now we do have more running backs in store, but first I did mention a giveaway at the top of the show. Usually we talk player props and different things, but we're going to mix it up because this coming Sunday is Halloween, day that NFL action is going down. So before we get to that, don't forget, give our sponsor Bear Clothing a follow on Instagram. It's Bear Clothing 1229. So here it is this week. Here's the question. Leave a comment below with your answer. And so the question is, what are the 3 best Halloween candies? That's it. Chris and I, of course, both having sweet tooths, we will pick whichever we think the best top 3 is, and that will be the winner. All right, let's go back to the players now. Running back that you absolutely love.
I'm going to go back to another backup handcuff running back who disappointed last week, and that is Chuba Hubbard. Look, when your team gets trounced 25-3 by the mighty New York Giants, you're probably going to have a bad fantasy day, and Chuba definitely had a bad fantasy day. But now he gets Atlanta. Myles Gaskin just torched this team on the ground and through the air. I expect Chuba Hubbard to do the same. This is not going to be a 25-3 trouncing like we saw last week. It'll be a more competitive game. Christian McCaffrey still on IR, can't even come back this week. So we know Chuba at least has one more week in him. I think he's going to give your fantasy team the boost it needs this week in what may be his final start, at least for a while. So if you've got Chuba Hubbard, ride him for one more week. He's going to help you win here in week 8.
Yeah, if you've been holding Christian McCaffrey, you definitely hope this is Chuba's last week as a starter. We'll see. We'll see what happens in Carolina. Not his last week as a starter, I don't think, is Khalil Herbert, because David Montgomery still on IR, going to be a couple more weeks, and it looks like it's just Herbert's job. He's won it outright. Even though Damian Williams was activated off the COVID list and did play, barely touched the ball, only 3 times for 8 yards, it was all Khalil Herbert, and we told you, gonna admit, we told you to fade him because Tampa Bay, of course, one of the best run defenses in the league, and he didn't care. Khalil Herbert ran for 100 yards still. So as hard as it is to believe, this rookie who was 3rd in the depth chart, now all of a sudden is the guy in Chicago, and he basically is their offense because there is no pass offense. If he can do that against Tampa Bay, and again, by the way, the worst possible game script for a running back, where they were down huge all game long, and he still was running and getting chunks of yards. So against San Francisco, I mean, who cares? It doesn't matter. It seems like he's going to rip off big chunks of yards no matter what and have a big game. So you keep riding Herbert as long as you possibly can. All right, now, before we get to our final must-start running backs for this week, don't forget, guys, you can support us not just by subscribing, but by becoming a patron. If you look down below in the description, you'll find a link with some information on our Patreon page. Again, we appreciate all the support that we've gotten from the community. That's just one more way that you can get involved and get some perks to go along with it. All right, Chris, give me one more running back you like this week.
Call me a sucker, but I'm going back to the Myles Gaskin well. And here's why. It's Buffalo. It's a terrible matchup. But Malcolm Brown left last week's game with an injury and has now been placed on IR. What did we see last week after Malcolm Brown left? Myles Gaskin got 15 carries, the most he's had all season. I've talked about it, that in competitive close games, this has been an RBBC with Malcolm Brown, Myles Gaskin, and Salvon Ahmed. Well, there's no more Malcolm Brown now, who is second on the team in carries. I don't think Salvon Ahmed is picking up all those extra carries. Myles Gaskin is going to once again be close to a workhorse running back. Now, I get it, the matchup isn't great. But how many running backs are locked into, 15 carries and 3+ receptions? And that's the other reason why I really like Myles Gaskin this week, because even if the Bills are blowing him out, which is likely, I'm sorry, Pierre, but it's likely, it's true, Myles Gaskin's going to get receptions, and that's going to save his fantasy value. So either way, whether it's a close game or they're getting blown out, I think Myles Gaskin will be fine. He's going to finally get the volume we thought he would get all year. So I think you can confidently start Myles Gaskin as an RB2 in week 8.
So, as you know, disgruntled Dolphins fan here. Yes, I've taken the hat down. It's not going up until they at least win a game. I was going to say back-to-back games. I'm just going to settle for one game at this point. But let's go ahead and flip the script here. You're going to pick a Dolphin. I can't. I'm going to go against my Dolphins because that's what you do in fantasy. You stream against the Dolphins because running backs, wide receivers, doesn't matter. They're putting up points. So let's go back to the well again. Zach Moss. He had the week off, but now he's going to be playing against the Dolphins. You roll him out for the same reasons I mentioned before. Look, I mentioned that he had been getting at least 12 fantasy points, PPR points every week. So this is a guy who has a high floor. Yes, the Bills will probably be up at some point. And so he is a solid start. Don't forget, he's a Miami boy. He's from high school there. I think he'll be motivated too. It's a division matchup. I like Moss's chances for a good game, so he's locked in. Yeah, you could start Myles Gaskin too, but I prefer Moss. All right, so that does it for our must-start running backs. Appreciate you guys watching. Good luck in week 8.